We're starting to get a whole bunch of people starting to join in. We have several Luxury Cruise Connections guests and clients. We also have several Luxury Cruise Connections advisors that are joining us today. And I'm going to spotlight you just for 1 second. We have Rebecca Thompson here as well. How you doing, Rebecca?
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Rebecca is what's your official title? Key
The
account,
account manager, yes.
and so she's basically like our window into the world of celebrity. Thank you very much for helping us put this together, Rebecca. And I'm gonna hide you for a sec, and then welcome, Brendan. How are you, Brendan?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Of course, of course. And Brendan is he works for Celebrity, and your official title is?
I'm the cruise tour sales and marketing manager. So I do everything really to do with packaging when it comes to experiencing both the coastline and the interior of Alaska.
And so he apparently, well, not apparently, because I've actually heard this guy before, is a rock star when it comes to everything that has to do with celebrity cruise tours. But in this case, we're going to talk about Alaska. And today is going to be a very exciting event because I'm going to do a lot of shutting up, and Brendan's going to do a lot of talking today. And I mean, that's good, for a change. But I want to thank everybody that are joining us today. I want to remind everybody that today's event is being recorded, and we're going to be sending a recap of today's event within the next 24 to 48 hours, together with some additional information about what we're talking about today. If anybody has any questions, there is a chat box. I'm sure you just saw Janet posted a little message there a second ago. And that's where I want you guys to add all of your questions, anything that you guys feel is relevant for us to talk about. I want to make sure that you guys understand that throughout the event, we're gonna let Brendan, kind of share what he wants to share today, but we're gonna go through all of these questions, comments, concerns, everything at the end of the event, and I'll go through every single one of them one by one to make sure that we address every single one of you. Um, Also, please remember that you can share this with your friends and family. So, as we go through today's event, we're going to share a few things, including the fact that we are going to be extending an exclusive offer for those that are participating in today's event. But that offer can also be extended to friends and family that watch the recording. So, keep that in mind. And without any further ado, and just right before we get started, I'm also going to ask Denise to please add on the chat our full contact information and how to reach Luxury Cruise Connections. If you already know how to do that because you have a relationship with one of our advisors, then that's amazing. If you don't have a relationship with one of our advisors, but you like what you hear today and want to give us a shot to build a relationship with you guys, I want to reiterate the fact that the way we operate, we're not a call center. We're a luxury cruise agency, but when it comes to luxury, this is not just about the ships that we promote or the itineraries or the brands that we promote, but also about the service that we not just preach but practice as well. So we like to create relationships. We like to say that while we are experts at the cruises and the destinations and all of that, we really want to become experts at our clients. And that is really our biggest differentiator. We create relationships. We don't just you just don't call a call center. We want to get to know you, what you like, what you don't like, what's good for you, what's not good for you, and then make sure that we're advising properly. That's why our cruise advisors are advisors and not agents. Want to make sure that we can actually properly advise on what to do and how to do things, and that's why it's important for us to get to know you. And so Denise has posted this information here in the chat. So you can also please follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. There's a lot of stuff that we post on those social media channels that sometimes we just don't have the bandwidth to send them via email, like exclusive offers and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, please make sure to follow us. And I also have a couple of polls that I'd like to shoot out at the beginning of our events because for us, it's important to understand who's with us on these events. And so, for example, one of the first ones that I want to launch is, have you ever sailed on celebrity cruises before? So you're going to see this pop up in your screen in a second. Probably already popped up in your screen, hopefully. Yes? Okay. So I'm going to start getting those results in a second, and then I'll share them with you guys as well. But as that happens, let's get this party going, shall we, Brendan?
That sounds good. Let me go ahead and see here.
And by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Carlos Ederi. Just in case if you don't know who I am the CEO and co-founder of Luxury Cruise Connections. And I love doing these events because it also gives me an opportunity to get to interact with our guests and understand, what are the biggest needs out there and how we can also be better. By the way, I just got some results. 80% of you guys have sailed with celebrity before. That's great. That's great. Let me share those results with you guys in a minute. You guys see those results? Yeah. So this is a great opportunity to inspire you to try a new destination. Hopefully, if you haven't been to Alaska, this will do the trick. So,
Well, I think it is the destination to visit because it is the most amazing destination. And for anyone that's been to Alaska before, you'll know what an incredible destination it is. And potentially, if you've been to the interior of Alaska, you'll know what an incredible destination it is. I worked on board cruise ships for many years, and spent nearly 5 years cruising the southeastern coastline of Alaska. The last nearly 9 years, I've been working with the interior of Alaska on our land and sea packages. And something that has always stayed with me from the many years that I've been with guests, with our partners in Alaska, is how rare it is to see someone come away from the experience of being Alaska not be genuinely moved, not be genuinely touched by all they've seen and felt. And what's so beautiful about that is how not new this is. If any of y'all are readers and enjoy the works of Joe Muir, you'll know that he wrote in his book about his Alaska in 1897 that to the lover of wilderness, Alaska is one of the most wonderful countries in the world. So as you explore visiting Alaska, your question becomes, well, how do I and my loved ones, how do we have the Alaskan experiences that we want? And what is helpful for you to recognize as you explore the destination of Alaska with your partner at Luxury Cruise Connections is how big it truly is. When you frame the state of Alaska by the lower 48, you begin to truly see that. Alaska is not just the largest US state. If you were to split Alaska in two, those two pieces would be the first and second largest US state, with Texas coming in third. And amidst that size, you have the culture and mountains and wilderness and wildlife and all of the glaciers that are dispersed. Amidst that size is a population of just 730,000. That's almost a square mile for every resident. Amidst that size are the 12 regions of the native Alaskan groups that stretch all the way from the Aleutian Islands on the western tip, that's the left-hand side of the screen, to the northernmost parts of the US. Amidst that size, there's more coastline than the East Coast and the West Coast and the Gulf Coast combined, with over 600 named glaciers. Amidst that size, there are mountain ranges that stretch all the way from the Kenai Peninsula to Canada, with the surrounding lands that are populated by brown bear and moose and caribou and wolverine. I could go on, but to experience more of it, I believe that exploring Alaska by both land and sea is the ideal. Now, just a cruise to Alaska is phenomenal. And what you're seeing here, as I faded out the interior of Alaska, is what we call the Inside Passage of Alaska. This is really some of the core destinations that you visit as part of an Alaska cruise. And we have 3 ships that are sailing differing itineraries. There's some variation across the season, but primarily Celebrity Summit sails northbound between Vancouver, Seward, or Seward down to Vancouver. We have Celebrity Solstice that does a round trip sailing out of Skagway. And we have Celebrity Edge, which is doing a round trip sailing out of Seattle. And each of these itineraries offers so many opportunities to experience so much of what Alaska has to offer. Now, what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about some of my favorite ports, some of my favorite destinations, some of my favorite experiences that are on the coastline of Alaska that you would experience as part of your cruise. And Juneau is right at the top of the list. Juneau is one of my favorite ports. It's so rare not to have incredible whale watching experiences in Juneau. The whales migrate down from Hawaii in early spring through the Pacific to the feeding grounds of Alaska. And as you go out on whale watching excursions, to be in the proximity of mammals this massive on a small boat tour, humpbacks can grow up to 60,000 pounds. And when their tails, their flukes are lifted high into the air as they go into the dive sequence, it's very cool to experience up close. And if you're lucky, as I have been a few times, you'll experience what's called bubble net feeding, when humpback whales hunt cooperatively, diving below schools of fish, using their blowholes to trap them. It's complex, amazing to experience, and almost uniquely Alaskan. The coastal glaciers in Alaska provide the nutrients for the fish habitat that encourages bubble net feeding. Also in Juneau is beautiful glaciers. The Mendenhall Glacier is just 12 miles away from the port and is one of the most easily accessible glaciers. Incredible views to be had of Mendenhall with, for example, a hike or by boat or by plane. Norris Glacier, which is the destination for dog sledding on a glacier, is also part of the Juneau Icefield, but just seeing it is really, really spectacular. 1,500 square miles and the birthing ground for 38 major glaciers. And talk about wilderness. I love this. NASA chose the Juneau Icefield for their prelunar training as it's one of the destinations on Earth that, I quote, captured the emotional sensation that one might encounter while walking on the moon. All of those wilderness and those wildlife and those magical experiences of Alaska can all be had in Juneau. Skagway is the gold rush town on south central Alaska. Much of the town is within the Klondike Gold Rush National Historical Park, and that's because in the late 1800s, Skagway was the starting point for 40,000 gold prospectors who headed to the Yukon by way of the Chilkoot Trail. And this is such incredible history. The British Canadians prohibited the prospectors entering Canada unless they had a year's supply of food and 1,000 pounds of equipment a person. And they're hiking this trail, shuttling their supplies in 50-pound packs. Alaska is rich with the history of perseverance and their pride in that perseverance of what it took to settle Alaska. And when you're there, connecting with the locals, spending time with the locals, you will feel that from the residents. Now, a few years later, the White Pass and Yukon Railroad was built. That's what you're seeing on your screen. And that is the train that you can ride today. It's literally a 10-minute walk from the ship to the Mbok station, and it's just spectacular. The incredible history, the breathtaking scenery, the peaks and the valleys, the mountaintops, the differing perspectives, the elevation changes over 3,000 feet. And when you get up the top into Canada, instead of returning by rail, my recommendation is to debark and come down the hill to Skagway by bike. It's an easy 15-mile downhill coast and so beautiful. The rich history of the town, the opportunity to experience the Yukon and White Pass Rail, Skagway is a fabulous destination. Ketchikan is Alaska's gateway city. It's the first port set at the southernmost entrance to Alaska's Inside Passage. One of the real joys of traveling the southeast, south central, and the interior of Alaska on a cruise tour is to connect with the differing Alaska native cultures like the Tlingit in the Pacific Northwest coast or the Athabaskan native groups in the interior. Ketchikan has a really fabulous totem poles at Cape Fox Lodge, which is tucked into a hillside. It's easy to get there with a funicular. And there's a gorgeous 6 totem pole circle that represents the culture of the North Swift Coast peoples. Also easily accessible, a few minutes walk from the ship dock, is the Lumberjack Show, which is straight up a fun and exciting family show. There's competition tree climbing, souped up chainsaws, there's running along floating logs. Kids especially will love it, as they will all of Alaska. It's such a great active destination for families. If you've ever seen Mickey Mouse in the Magic Castle create a sense of wonderment in your young ones, try seeing them watch a 50,000-pound whale breach the ocean. Or head over to Neats Bay Creek in Ketchikan and have them be 10 meters from black bears fishing for salmon. It opens when the salmon season begins. It's one of the best destinations on Southeast Alaska to see black bears. One of the great wilderness experiences is flying amongst the misty fjords. This is very, very special. The fjords and rock walls jut 3,000 feet straight out of the ocean. The almost constant precipitation is what creates the mistiness in misty fjords. It's surrounded by the Tongass National Forest, which is the largest intact temperate rainforest in the world, spanning 500 miles. Everyone, you and your family and your loved ones, should take the opportunity to see Alaska from up top, whether it's flight sightseeing or hike into the top of the mountain or taking a cable car to the top of the mountain. There is such beauty in the differing perspectives that you get. 3 phenomenal cruise itineraries on 3 beautiful ships. And whether you are on Summit or Edge or Solstice, there are so many opportunities to take in so much of what Alaska has to offer. But only one ship, the Summit, crosses the Gulf of Alaska and docks in Seward. And Seward, up towards the top hand left side of your screen here, is the embark station for getting to the interior of Alaska. Sailing on the Summit and embarking and debarking in Seward creates the opportunity to just elevate all of the incredible wilderness and wildlife and mountains and glacier experiences on a cruise by further traveling into the interior of Alaska on a multi-night land tour. And that's all a celebrity cruise tour is. It's a 7-night northbound, southbound cruise on the Summit that is combined with a 2 to 6 night celebrity land tour. Now, Vancouver to Seward is roughly 1,200 miles as the crow flies, but Seward to Fairbanks, that's another 500 miles. And the destinations along the way are stunning, but time is different. Your daily experiences are different. The beauty of being on a cruise is relaxing in the port destination during the day and then exploring the port destination during the day and then relaxing into your cruise in the evening. On the land tour, it's different. You're in it all of the time, whether it is traveling one of the only 4 major roads or, riding a rail line, which is the lifeblood of Alaska, staying in the best local lodges, dining in the neighborhood hotspots for that time. While you are on a celebrity cruise tour, you are steeped in Alaska. Now, you always have the opportunity to do one of 2 things. Either you can fly into Vancouver and do the northbound sailing that would take you up to Seward, where you would debark the ship for a 2 to 6 night land tour into the interior of Alaska, flying home from Anchorage or Fairbanks. Or alternately, you could fly into Anchorage or Fairbanks and do that 2 to 6 night land tour that would take you down to Seward, where you would embark the Summit for your 7-night southbound sailing, where it would take you down to Vancouver. You always have the opportunity to do it as part of a northbound or a southbound experience. And the range of cruise tours that we offer goes from 9 nights, which is a 7-night cruise and a 2-night land tour, up to 13 nights, which is the 7-night cruise and the 6-night land tour. But let's talk a little bit about some of those destinations in the interior of Alaska. We've explored the coastline. We've explored some of the experiences that we can have there. What are the types of experiences and the destinations that you can visit when you are traveling into the interior? Seward. Wow, this is one of my favorite destinations in all of Alaska. It's the gateway to the interior. It's a grand natural intersection between the bays and the fjords that are on the edge of the Pacific and the mountainous wilderness beyond. The Kenai Peninsula, on which Seward sits, extends from Cook Inlet on the mainland down to the Gulf of Alaska. And there's wetland and forest and rivers and a coastline that's carved out by glaciers. And the wildlife in the surrounding waters of the Kenai are incredible. You have humpback and gray and orca whales. There's harbor seal and sea lions, puffins, cormorants. And from the small boat harbor, for what you're seeing here, which is about a half mile from where the ship docks, it's all accessible on a small boat excursion. Now, important to know, during the land tour, this is different from the cruise, we include some excursions as standard. It's just part of the cruise tour. And when overnighting in Seward, it included 50 up to 100-mile journey will take you through what's called Resurrection and Alec and Harrispan as far as Kenai Fjord National Park, where 40 glaciers flow from the massive 700-mile Harding ice field. Just to be in the epicenter of wildlife is a big part of what is so special about Alaska. It's a really, really spectacular destination. Kenai Peninsula, on which Seward sits, is known as the destination where Alaskans go to play. And you know that if the locals are playing there, that's somewhere where you want to be playing too. I love Seward as a destination to overnight as part of the land tour. An hour or so north of Girdwood is Anchorage, which is also an incredible wilderness destination, but it's also the most populous city in Alaska. It's at the end of a passageway of ocean, which is called the Cook Inlet, which keeps it a little warmer in the winter and a little cooler in the summer. Now, if you've thought about Alaska as cold and dark, keep in mind that's the winter. And we are sailing and land touring in late spring and summer and early fall. In Alaska, they tend to think a lot about the solstices because due to the extreme weather changes, they're a big deal. In December, Anchorage, the average temperature is like 25 degrees and there's maybe 5 hours of daylight. That's the shortest of the year. That's not when we're there. We're there in the spring and the summertime. Compare that to June 21st, the longest day of the year. They have 22 hours of daylight and the average temperature is 63 degrees. That's the sort of temperature, that's the sort of climate, that's the sort of sunlight you can expect when you're going to Alaska with a celebrity on a cruise or a land tour. In fact, there's a fabulous restaurant in Anchorage called Simon and Seaforth, great seafood, that has panoramic views overlooking the Cook Inlet. And at summer solstice, from their balcony, you could literally watch the sun dip below the horizon and pop up again shortly after. It's really, really cool. It's very much a foodie's paradise. Of course, the seafood is incredible, but it's also a diverse cultural city which feeds into its culinary scene. Up at the top there, if you want, you can catch your own dinner. This is called Ship Creek River. It's not far from downtown. There's a bait shack right there for rods and a fishing license. Really good chance to catch a big fish. The kings start their run in May. Silver is a little bit later in July and August. The access to the wilderness is exceptional. Over 200 miles of trails and mountain ranges. What you're looking at on the bottom left-hand side of the screen is the Tony Nose Coastal Trail, which is a green belt that's walkable from downtown. It stretches 11 miles along the coast with views of Mount Sistina and Earthquake Park. It's an easy trail and wonderful for incredible views of Anchorage and the surrounding wilderness. And then on the right-hand side there, it is one of the most amazing experiences that it's available anywhere in Alaska. This is Katmai National Park, which is accessible from Anchorage by flight, by Cessna, by a short flight, by about an hour. The actual location that you're looking at is called Brooks Falls Waterfalls. And what happens in the summertime is as the salmon is spawning up the waterfalls, jumping up the waterfalls in order to get to their spawning grounds, the bears descend on the spawning salmon and it creates a feeding frenzy, which is absolutely incredible. Now, what you're not seeing here is the elevated wooden platforms that surround it, and that's where you would be standing, looking down on these one-of-a-kind, incredible bear viewing experiences. All of these types of experiences are available to you as you travel into the interior of Alaska. Now, of course, a destination that is so key to the interior of Alaska is Denali National Park. Denali is the jewel of Alaska's interior. It's 6 million acres of pristine and wild land. It's home to hundreds of wildlife species, including the Alaskan Big Five, brown bear, moose, caribou, Dall, sheep, and wolves. The backcountry of Denali is highly protected. The only vehicle access is by bus with the National Park Service. And there's one road that you're seeing here that currently runs about 42 miles into the park. And the included excursions that take you down that road, either 16 or up to 40 miles, will give you great opportunities to see the tundra, see the taiga, spot for wildlife. The National Park Ranger does a fabulous job of looking out for wildlife and spotting them for you as you're going down the road. It's spectacular. It's a really, really fabulous afternoon. Every single Celebrity Alaska cruise tour includes an opportunity in order to go into Denali National Park. And of course, lots of opportunities to catch Denali Mountain on a clear day. The first few points at about 20 miles gives you some really great opportunities, but the further down the road that you go, the more opportunities you have to see Denali in her full glory. Also, some really great optional activities as well. What you're looking at on the left-hand side of your screen is Doggone It. This is one of the Iditarod participants that gives you the chance to tour the dog kennels, meet the dogs, and of course, hold the puppies. And one of my favorite experiences on the right-hand side of the screen there is rafting on the Nenana River. This is a beautiful river that flows through Denali. The intensity of the rapids changes dependent on summer glacial softening, but you're out in the wilderness, you're surrounded by Denali, you're separated from the hustle and bustle. It is just an incredible wilderness afternoon. But unless you cross the Gulf of Alaska on an open jaw sailing on the summit, the experiences in the Kenai Peninsula and the interior aren't open to you. And this, for me, is what it should be traveling in Alaska, exploring the interior and exploring the coastline. Because even though a cruise to Alaska is spectacular, and it is, when we think on the incredible experiences we want from traveling in Alaska, like wilderness and wildlife and mountains and glaciers, each of those are elevated when exploring both the coastline and the interior on a celebrity cruise tour. Flying amongst the misty fjords in Ketchikan on the cruise, surrounded by 3,000-foot granite cliffs jutting into the sky, that's an awesome wilderness experience on the cruise. But kayaking in Ketchikan Bay State Park with views of volcanoes and gorgeous sunsets, or traveling into Denali National Park surrounded by 6 million acres of highly protected wilderness, that can only be had on the celebrity cruise tour. Your wildlife experiences are elevated when on a cruise tour. Wilderness experiences, are elevated on a cruise tour. And for the wildlife, of course, when you're on the coastline, you have tremendous opportunities for whales as you're traveling out of Juneau, the coastal brown bears as you're in Icy State, or black bears as you're in as you're in Ketchikan. But as you go into the interior of Alaska, you have the opportunities for the big five of Alaska: the moose, the caribou, the grizzlies, the Dall sheep, and the wolves, and some of those incredible opportunities for brown bear viewing if you're going out to Katmai National Park. Your wildlife experiences are elevated on the cruise tour. Mountains, of course, you have amazing opportunities for mountain ranges as you're cruising the coastline of Alaska. But as you go into the interior of Alaska, that is when you have the opportunity for those once-in-a-lifetime views of Denali Mountain, formerly Mount McKinley, the tallest peak in North America, over 160 miles from any port in Alaska. But as you travel into the interior, those views become the opportunity. Your mountain experiences are elevated on a cruise tour. And glaciers, of course, on a cruise, you have tremendous opportunity for glaciers, whether it's Hubbard or Endicott Arm or Tracy Arm Fjord. But as you go into the cross the Gulf of Alaska and dock in Seward, that's when you create opportunities for Kenai Fjord National Park. Think about the experiences that you want from Alaska, and then you can begin to understand that those experiences, those once-in-a-lifetime experiences, going to be delivered just as part of the cruise or part of the cruise tour. All right, let's just talk a little bit about what's included on the land component of a celebrity cruises cruise tour, because of course we're traveling those 2 to 6 nights in the interior of Alaska. So we want you to do it in comfort. We want it to be seamless. We want it to be a magical experience. And there's certain ways that we do that. I'm going to jump through and not talk about the ship and just talk about the land component specifically here, because lodges are a really integral part to the overnight experiences that you have as you're traveling through the interior of Alaska. And what's important to celebrity is that we are always traveling to the most exceptional destinations for Alaskan experiences and staying in the finest available property in each of those destinations. Now, depending on the destination, that's going to change. But for example, as we travel to Girdwood, we stay at Hotel Alyeska. Now, there is no property anywhere in Alaska that comes close to the level of luxury and service amenities that Hotel Alyeska offers. It has a 4 diamond star restaurant at the top of the mountain. It has a Nordic spa. It has heated saltwater pool that looks out over beautiful valleys. It is an incredible property. If you get the opportunity to do so, just type in Hotel Alyeska to your web browser at some point and take a look around. It is amazing. We want to go to Girdwood because it's an exceptional destination, but Hotel Alyeska is the finest available property there, indeed, anywhere in Alaska. Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge, we would certainly type it as one of the top 3 properties available anywhere in Alaska. Just a great property for comfort, for the amenities, for the restaurants that it offers, easily accessible to downtown Talkeetna, just 5 minutes away by complimentary transfer. But the jewel of Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge are those views that you're seeing on the top right-hand side of your screen. This is the back of Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. It sits on a bluff that overlooks the Sistina River Valley and the entire Alaska Range, including Denali. Now, this picture, I think I took in 2019, I want to say. I got up about 6 a.m. in the morning. By 7, the clouds had burned off, and by 8, Denali was just popping. It was absolutely magical. Some of the most incredible views that you can get of Denali actually come from Talkeetna, as opposed to some of the other destinations in Alaska. And Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge is one of the best places in order to get those views. Denali Park Village, obviously the property we stay at for Denali National Park, just 12 minutes away from the gates of Denali National Park itself, sits right on the banks of the Nenana River. It's got fire pits on the outside, surrounded by the Alaskan Mountain Range. It's just a tremendous property to have that incredible wilderness national park experience. Each of the properties that we stay at are the finest available properties in each of the destinations that we go to, but different. Denali does not have the same level of luxury and amenities that, for example, Hotel Alyeska does, because those types of properties don't exist in Denali area. It's a national park, but we're always going to stay at the finest property available in each of the destinations. The second component is the fact that we're fully escorted. This is such an important part of every single Celebrity Alaska cruise tour. Just to compare and contrast it for you a little bit, the industry standard is what's called a representative-led experience. That basically means you're in Alaska, there's a rep, they're helping you out, just kind of dependent on where you go. Not the case with Celebrity. When you fly into the interior of Alaska on a Celebrity Cruises cruise tour, you're met by one person, your dedicated local tour guide. And they introduce you to a dedicated motor coach driver who shows you a dedicated deluxe motor coach. And typically around 44 celebrity guests are on board that motor coach, and that motor coach and that motor coach driver and that dedicated tour guide are for you for the duration of the land tour. Now, your tour guide is doing everything that you would expect a tour guide to do. They're talking about the destinations, they're making restaurant recommendations, they're booking optional land excursions. The driver is, of course, driving and focusing on the road, but they're also transporting your luggage from the motor coach to the hotel rooms and back from the hotel rooms to the motor coach. So you don't have to be dragging your luggage around, which is not what you want. But having this driver guide team, having this seamless experience, having the local people take you around Alaska, this is really what creates a seamless personal experience and ensures that even though you're traveling for 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or 6 nights, you're really taking advantage of every moment that you're there. Now, I've mentioned a little bit that luxurious rail, that travel by motor coach, but you're also going to be traveling by rail as well. Now, there's lots of different classes of rail carriage when you travel to Alaska, but we simply use the best that's there. The rail carriages that we utilize as part of our land tour are called the Wilderness Express rail carriages, and there is simply no better class of rail carriage available in Alaska. 80 persons up top, luxury, wide, well-apportioned leather seating, those beautiful domed roofs in order to get the incredible views of Alaska as you're traveling through. Now, on the first level, There's a restaurant with freshly prepared meals by a chef on board the rail called That Day available for purchase. It is an awesome way in order to travel through Alaska. Now, what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen here is the Alaska Railroad. The route that we travel is called the Denali Star Route. That's between Anchorage and Fairbanks. As part of any Celebrity Alaska cruise tour, you're going to be including one of these rail segments, whether it's Anchorage to Talkeetna, Talkeetna to Denali, or Denali to Fairbanks. Some of our cruise tours have multiple rail segments. One of our cruise tours, which is cruise tour number 8, travels exclusively by rail all the way from Anchorage to Fairbanks. So depending on if you want a little bit more rail, there's certainly cruise tour options that you can select that is going to include that as part of that land tour experience. But every cruise tour includes luxury rail, and nothing is better in the interior of Alaska than the Wilderness Express rail carriages. Also, quickly, I'm going to mention that we have these really cool experiences that are available to you for 2024 and 2025, which are our premium cruise tour experiences. Now, all of our Alaska cruise tours are fabulous, but if you're booking a retreat, maybe, if you're booking one of the celebrity suites, if you're looking for a different level of amenities and service, then you can certainly look towards our premium cruise tour experiences, because as part of it, they include an elevated level of hotels, breakfast in each overnight destination, drinks while you're traveling on the Wilderness Express Rail, and the longer tour into Denali National Park. Let me explain that just a little bit. Whenever you're staying at a property, as part of our premium cruise tour experiences, you're either going to be in an upgraded room or you're going to be in a guaranteed view room. So, for example, when you're staying at a property like Hotel Alaska that has junior suites, etc., we put you in a junior suite as part of that premium cruise tour experience. However, when you're staying in Talkeetna, Talkeetna does not have any upgraded rooms. They just have one standard class of room throughout the property. So under a stay in Talkeetna, we would guarantee a view room of the mountain as opposed to what is behind the property. So on our premium cruise tour experience, you would always have either an upgraded room or a guaranteed view room. As I said, breakfast included in each overnight destination where you stay. When you're traveling by rail, the drinks, whether they're specialty cocktails, beers, coffees, whatever it is, will be included while you're traveling, and always the longer tour into Denali National Park. So if you're looking for an upgraded level of service and amenities, take a look at those premium cruise tour experiences. And this is where I'll finish it off before we get into our question and answer session. We have just launched into our May promotion. As part of that, it's 75% off second guests and bonus savings, which Cruise Tours is a part of. So if you're thinking about an Alaska cruise tour experience in 2025, now is a great time to talk to your luxury cruise connection partner and take advantage of that BOGO 75 offer. All right, guys, let me hand it over back to you.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. What an incredible presentation. I mean, definitely always an incredible learning experience every time you do this. I never stop being amazed at how incredible this destination is. And you know,
Right.
it just, it's like you can go to Alaska once and you can go a second time and even a third time. And I think each one of those times is going to be a very different experience. Do you agree?
Oh, 1,000%. And of course, depending on when you go in the season, that's going to give you some different experiences as well. If you're going in May, there's different things happening there. The animals, depending on what's happening, is coming out of hibernation. The flora and the fauna isn't quite grown out yet. You've got less people there as you transition into the height of the summer. Then you have summer solstice. You're going to get more sunlight than you're going to get at any point in the season. The salmon are start this morning. You've got opportunity for bear viewing as you transition into the back end of the season. That's when you're going to see that you have opportunities for northern lights potentially. If you're going all the way north to Fairbanks in the latter part of the season, potentially you have the full foliage that's happening in Denali as well. So different points of the season are going to give you different experiences, and different things are going to be happening.
And so I'm a fan of whales. And when is the best time?
Well, you speak to any of the whale guides, they'll tell you that July is a great time to be witnessing whales. But I'll be, on personal experience, I think this is like asking when is the best weather in Alaska, which is that it very much depends just kind of on what's happening. I will say that some of the most active whales that I have seen is on the earlier part of the season, simply because what's happening, as I mentioned, is that effectively what's happening is that the whales are giving birth to their babies in Hawaii in warmer waters, and then they cross the Pacific to Alaska because it's the feeding grounds. They're very active when they get there because it's feeding time, basically. And those whales are young and they're active, and it can be a really cool time to just see some exceptional experiences.
Amazing, amazing. And I also want to add that again, like I said at the beginning of the event, can you guys see this little picture here? Anybody that books a veranda stateroom or above will receive $100 of additional onboard credit per stateroom. And I mean additional onboard credit because it is on top of the other promotion that Brendan was just sharing with us, and or with combinable with any of our virtuoso promotions or all of the other agency promotions. So I do have to kind of give everybody the heads up that this is for new bookings only. When we put together these consumer events, we partner up with the cruise line that we're doing it with to create an additional, like a little incentive to try to generate new bookings. If you booked before and if you have another booking that you made before, then of course I'm sure you had a really good price and a really good deal at the time that you booked it. So would be for new bookings. And while we are talking about Alaska today, I th this $100 onward credit applies for any celebrity booking that is made until April 30th. So, yes, of course, I'm hoping that we've inspired you guys to either go to Alaska for the first time or second or third. But this offer does apply for any celebrity cruise that you book. And so, let's talk a little bit about the onboard experience because that is also important. At the end of the day, we are talking about cruise tours. We, talked a lot about the tour part of things, and maybe if you want me to bring Rebecca for this part of the conversation, I can do that too. But would love to know, obviously we said we have the Solstice, the Summit, and the Edge traveling Alaska this season. Um, how are those ships doing? I know the Edge obviously is quite new. Summit and Solstice have a couple more years under their belt, but what's the state of those ships?
So they're all three amazing vessels. And what's interesting is we have three classes of ships, and we have one of each class of ship up there in Alaska, right? So if you prefer a smaller, more intimate ship, that would be Celebrity Summit, our ship that does Alaska cruise tours. Yes, she is a few years older, but I will mention that it is one of the ships that we completely rebuilt. So we took it down to the studs, kind of started from scratch and rebuilt that ship with the Edge class in mind. So it's very much reminiscent of the Edge class. So she does have a very modern luxury look and feel to her. All the staterooms were redone, all the bathrooms were redone. So she is very much sort of on par with that Edge class feel, which is our newest class. So if you're interested in doing cruise only, then we've got Celebrity Solstice, which is one of our Solstice class vessels. And honestly, I love all of our vessels. I'm on Celebrity Reflection right now as we speak. It's the sister to Solstice. And they are elegant, they're peaceful. They're tranquil. They're a beautiful, beautiful class of ship if you just kind of want to rest and rejuvenate and just be and experience the beauty of the ship. The Edge class is our newest class. They're a little sexier. They've got a few more bells and whistles. They're beautiful and gorgeous unto themselves. They're a little bit more sleek. They're a little bit more modern, but you're going to have more specialty dining options if that's important to you as well. So we have one of each up there, right? But if you do want to do the Alaska cruise tour, which I firmly believe is absolutely the way to do to Alaska, then that would be Celebrity Summit, which is the one that we did rebuild, basically created her fresh and new all over again. Good question. Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, no, of course. And for families that are looking to travel to Alaska, is there a little bit of a better time to take kids, or what do you guys think?
I mean, if you're typically speaking, if you're traveling to Alaska and families, then you're going to be traveling in the holidays for kids, right? So what you're looking at is that middle of June through probably the middle of August window, which is certainly prime season for Alaska. So it's a great time to be there. I think it's less about the time to go because it's fairly narrow with the kids' holidays, and more about the destinations that are included as part of the itinerary. For me, what's really important for Alaska, because as you know, there are more cruise ships that have started going there over the years. There are bigger cruise ships industry wide that have started going there over the years. What you begin to see is some more limited itineraries that those ships offer. You don't necessarily get the Alexandria Archipelago, so cruising through the islands of Alaska, which is an amazing experience. There's itineraries out there that don't necessarily have a glacial scenic cruising, which is crazy for me to go to Alaska and not to have glacial scenic cruising as part of that. I would really look for a minimum of 3 to 4 ports, preferably 4 ports as part of that itinerary experience. So, are you going to some of those core destinations that have family oriented experiences? For example, like Ketchikan that has the lumberjack show. Are you going to places where the kids can really participate in activities that they're going to enjoy? So I would kind of lean into looking more at the itinerary, 4 ports, guaranteed Alexander Archipelago, and also glacial scenic cruising, and making sure there are those activities that the whole family can enjoy together.
Um, the other thing that I want to also kind of highlight and maybe kind of open it up for the conversation is most people when going to Alaska are looking to extend their trip. Like it's very rare to see somebody just wanting to do like getting to the departure port the day off and coming and returning the day you get off the ship. And as you're trying to extend and do this pre and post experiences, I believe that doing it as part of a tour has a lot of value, starting for the fact that and this is kind of the biggest thing that everybody tends to underestimate is availability on these hotels. Cruise lines like Celebrity and obviously many others have basically gobbled up most of the availability at the best properties around the area for pre and post tour extensions. Do you agree? So like most of the times you're gonna get the best availability and the best options when booking it within a tour, as well as the fact that obviously you have negotiated rates and you have, obviously hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people going to Alaska every year. And so this negotiated rates allows for some guaranteed space, like you said, guaranteed view, guaranteed upgrade, or I guess higher availability, higher categories. Do you agree that this tends to be kind of a very common mistake that people make when they think they can kind of do that on their own?
I think
So
that no, go for it, Rebecca.
So I would say, if you do have the time to be there and you can at least just add on that 2 nights for that 2 night cruise tour piece of the experience, I think that's really key and really important because as Brendan said, we do stay in the best lodges available on that destination. And sometimes putting together, I'm just going to extend here and go do this and go do that becomes a little bit tricky because there are logistical considerations as well. And to your point, hotel space has been crazy full as of late, but if you do book one of our cruise tours, even if it's just the 2 nights, no worries, we've got it all taken care of.
And I think people underestimate the cost of, for example, renting cars. You rent a car in Anchorage and you want to jump it off in Fairbanks and you're doing that driving, it is expensive. So some of the component pieces that you think might not cost that much when doing it independently, they actually cost quite a bit.
I'm going to ask you guys a hard question. I'm sorry to put you guys on the spot like this, but I think it's my duty to do so. There are other competitors that go to Alaska. Some of them might have been doing this for even longer time than Celebrity. I could be wrong. Why would anybody book a cruise tour or a cruise to Alaska with Celebrity as opposed to one of the other competitors? Give me one or two
Fully
uh,
escorted. The
escorted.
the the competitors that you're talking about are not fully escorted. Their primary product is what's called a representative led experience. Basically, what that means is that when you fly into the interior of Alaska, you're met by a rep. When you come down in the morning, there's a new rep. The new rep helps you get on board a bus. On bus, the driver is serving double duty as both the driver and the narrator. So they're trying to drive and talk at the same time. When you get to the destination, there's a new rep and the whole process starts again. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It works for them, but we just don't feel that that's the way to experience the interior of Alaska, to make it seamless, to make it personable, and to make it unique. As I said, when you fly to the interior of Alaska on a Celebrity Alaska cruise tour, you're met by one person, your dedicated local tour guide. They introduce you to the dedicated motor coach driver, and they show you the dedicated deluxe motor coach. Now, I could get into, some of the more nuances of the ages of their motor coaches versus the motor coaches we utilize, and age of rail car, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's important to a degree. But really, the key thing here is fully escorted, dedicated motor coach driver, dedicated motor coach.
That's a really good point. Sorry I put you on the spot like that, but that was a great answer. And I'm gonna say one more thing. Some of your competitors like to claim the fact that they own some of these hotels for those pre and post. And while they pitch that as a positive, I actually don't necessarily see it as such because you guys, have these long-term contracts with these hotels, gives you the flexibility to make sure you guys are selecting and utilizing the best option at any given time. And if any one of these hotels are dropping the ball when it comes to service or quality or renovations or whatever, you have the flexibility to change and kind of utilize your leverage to get a contract with another great hotel that is now up to par. So, in my opinion, owning those properties is not necessarily a good thing. They're stuck with those properties, and they don't necessarily, you know, a, play in that competitive game that the other ones play, and don't need to be renovating those properties as
Yeah,
often.
no, it's a great point. And look, I would not tend to bring it up, but you brought it up, so I'll talk about it. I think one of the other areas that is important is that when you don't own the properties, which is basically what you're talking about, there's not some constraints about utilization of assets, right? When you own it, you feel like you have to use it, and some of the flow kind of follows that way. Something that you may have heard of, your clients may have heard of, is this concept called direct to Denali. Direct to Denali, the idea of it is you get off a ship and then you get on a train and the train goes straight to Denali, which is a cool concept in itself. You think about it, hey, that's kind of cool, but it's a 9 hour journey. Like, it's 9 hours on a train. Like, that's what it takes to fly from Miami to London. Like, you put me in Emirates business class, I still don't want to be on a plane for 9 hours. That is a construct of, we want to get people from our ship to our property that's in Denali on our train. So we're just going to stick them on a train and take them straight to Denali. It's not really a great experience. So to your point, there's peaks and valleys of it. Some of it is good, but a lot of it is, okay, we're going to do this thing because it made sense logistically, doesn't necessarily make sense for the guest experience. And then that's the kind of thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to kind of go back and talk a little bit about the uh, cruise product. Uh, um, Janet posted a question early on in the conversation about how she loved the retreat experience when she went to Spain and Portugal. and that she feels that perks have been reduced and price has gone up. Rebecca, what answer do you have to that?
So I'm going to take one step back for a second, because I think it's important to understand that the retreat experience itself does vary a little bit depending on what class of ship you are on, kind of first and foremost. So I think it's important to set the right expectation as to what those retreat venues look like depending on the class of ship that you're sailing on. So when we built the retreat, when that concept went into full bloom, that was with our Edge class ships, which were purpose built for that, right? And we've done an amazing job of kind of retrofitting back that same concept and that same, exclusivity into our other classes of ships, but they weren't necessarily purpose built for that. So I think first and foremost, it is important to recognize that that experience does vary a little bit as you move from one class of ship to the other. I will also mention, that we make changes over the course of time for what are very good reasons, and some things work out really excellent and some things we find out don't work out so great. So for example, for the retreat experience, we were getting a lot of requests all at the same time for our butler team. So we went to kind of a group team butler sort of exercise. And on the Millennium class, it was excellent, right? Super excellent. It's a smaller ship. The proximity was there. Everybody was getting service right away. It was really great. What we found is on the Edge class ships, when we went to this team concept, logistics be logistics, right? It turns out the butler pantry was too far for that theory, that exercise, that desire to service better to really work out well. We listen to our guests in every single thing that we do. We are in the process, and we will make an announcement very, very soon once it's complete and full and ready, that we will take your feedback and revert back to that retreat butler experience, especially for the Sky Suites that you came to know and love. It was just, our attempt to service everybody better, that we went to a new concept and we'll revert back. So there are things that are always going to change over the course of time. I fully believe the value is there for the retreat experience. And sometimes we go through some growing pains because we want to do things better. And when you tell us, hey, you know what, that wasn't actually better, we go, okay, well, let's go back to what you love, and we'll keep moving forward. And so that's kind of one of the sort of hiccups that we ran into with the retreat experience. But I absolutely firmly believe the value is there. Our crew is amazing. There's a lot more service and attentiveness that we get to offer in that retreat environment, and that's very special to us. And none of that has gone to have you.
And in terms of, by the way, I also want to highlight something real quick, a quick little parenthesis here. Rebecca is actually on board a ship right now, on the Reflection, right? You said that. Now you're
Yes,
in the middle of the ocean right now, and you're utilizing the ship's internet for this.
I am. I'm on Wi-Fi. Yes.
Great improvements there. I think it's important to highlight how, internet connection aboard those ships has evolved, in the
Yeah,
last years.
there's always hiccups here and there, right? Ships be ships, movement be movement. But yes, I am coming to you from Celebrity Reflection.
Amazing. And there were some changes to your pricing structure recently, kind of to expand a little bit more on that comment, right? Many of you might have noticed, some of you might have not. I think it's important that we share with our audience today a little bit about the most recent changes. Well, they're not so recent anymore, but I think they might be new for some people still. In terms of your pricing structure and you went from always included to, I'm sorry, from all included to always included. Yeah, did I get that right? You know what I mean?
It's still all included. We did remove the gratuities. If you want your gratuities included with your price in advance of sailing, then your travel advisor can absolutely include gratuities with that price. Or if you prefer to pay them at some point in time before you sail, you can do that. Or if you just want them charged to your account when you get on board, we can do that. So, there's some flexibility there in terms of how you wish to pay your gratuities. A lot of our guests, I will tell you, are amazing at paying over and above that. And that's their preference and that's their choice. So that was the only tweak that we made to all included. It still includes, if you're sailing in a veranda, for example, the classic beverage package, which is our most popular perk that we have. And it also includes surf Wi-Fi as well. So if you do want to stream, I would recommend premium Wi-Fi. But surf Wi-Fi is included as well as our classic beverage package, which is by far our most important
Yeah.
perk that comes with all included.
And then you can upgrade those. But it's important to highlight that with this, basically the no pricing structure, when you're looking to celebrity, you can still get the no perk rate. You can still get the non-refundable no perk rate, or you can get the more flexible um, all-included rate, which again used to also include gratuities, now only includes Wi-Fi and classic beverage package. Now, you can also get the non-refundable rate with all included in it. So like there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what rate you can choose and whether or not you appreciate the perks or don't appreciate the perks. If you do, then that all included a price point is extremely it's a great value proposition. And I think today and day especially the internet is just kind of a given, right? So
Well, and I'm also just going to mention, honestly, guys, booking through Luxury Cruise Connections is the best way to book, right? Because they are an amazing and important and valuable partner to us. They are part of the Virtuoso network, as Carlos may have said. So we value that partnership, and we do provide, you know, specialty dining, for example, as a perk if you book through Luxury Cruise Connections. So if you're booking with them, you're getting a lot of amazing things exclusive to this partnership. So I think I would almost step back and say, let's start there, right?
yeah.
And then you can pick whatever rate is best for you. And then we also have the show offer, which we're layering on top of all of that if you want to make a booking in the next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think it's a great point, and thank you for bringing that up. Not only do we have the specialty dining basically in every itinerary that we sell, but also as itineraries come out as a company and within the Virtuoso network, we block a lot of space that guarantees a preferred rate as prices go up. And in many occasions, we're going to have what we call group rates, which are just essentially blocked rate of several months ago that is no longer available in the market. And so, with that, Rebecca, I want to ask you, would it make sense for anybody to book direct with Celebrity Cruises as opposed to booking through us at Luxury Cruise Connections?
Everyone has their preferences. Everyone has a way that they like to book. Everyone has people that they have grown to work with. So we want people to book however they choose to book, whoever they choose to book with. So that really honestly becomes a decision on the part of the guest in terms of how they want to make that cruise booking. I will also say that if you happens to be over a weekend or what have you, and you're on our website and you're looking around and you see something and maybe there's one stateroom left, or you just want to hold that and then talk to your travel advisor. If you do happen to deposit on something on our website, we can always move that booking over to Luxury Cruise Connections as well, as long as you reach out to them and let them know within 30 days of booking as well.
So
So
that was gonna be my follow-up question to that. The policy to be able to transfer a booking to Luxury Cruise Connections is 30 days from deposit
within 30 days of creation and outside of final payment.
and outside of final payment. Okay, good to know. Good to know. And I wanna bring up one more time that slide. I did miss I I, I I I misstated the booking window. But if you guys allow me to do this again.
Sure, it's through May
Um,
24th while you're looking.
it's through May 24th. That's the date to book, but
Mhm.
it's available all the way till April 30th itineraries. So
Yes,
you
through
can
open
book.
deployment.
Correct, correct. So available for basically any celebrity cruise. All
Well,
right.
the only thing it excludes, I just want to say, if we're being very specific here, is the Galapagos Islands. That's our only all-inclusive product. No reason for onboard credit. If you're looking to go to the Galapagos Islands, that would be excluded, as well as transatlantic and transpacific. But any of our core destinations, absolutely.
Beautiful. I think your Galapagos itineraries already offer an incredible amount of value, not to say one of the most beautiful ships in the Galapagos Islands, the Celebrity Flora, which, by the way, also has beautiful cruise tours, right, Brendan?
Yes, yeah, they do. They go up to the Machu Picchu, I believe. I don't handle those, which is why I'm
Yeah.
filtering a little bit.
That's another
But
webinar, Carlos. Love you, man.
Of course, of course. Oh, that's amazing. Do we have any other questions from our audience? Anything else you guys want to know? Anything else you guys want to ask before we let Rebecca and Brendan go? These guys are very busy people. They don't necessarily are available all the time. So for us, it's an incredible opportunity to have them spend this a little bit over an hour with us and share so much insight about Alaska and Alaska cruise tours. Uh, any other questions? Anything else you guys want to know? Anything else you guys want to know? I want to use
Yeah,
a.
Carlos,
Uh,
I
yes.
have a guest who's looking for Alaska 2026. When will those dates be released, please? Because as we
uh,
know, they they go quickly.
yeah, it'll be around October time, between October and November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And just a suggestion, I've done 4 cruises, Alaska. In fact, I proposed to my now wife on the Millennium on the
Nice.
cruise, going to the cruise tour. It was funny. We won't go into it, but just a suggestion. Anybody who's doing a cruise tour, I suggest packing a smaller bag and the bigger bag that you use for the cruise. Don't even bother opening. It will make things life much easier for you because you won't need as much stuff on the cruise tour as you do on the cruise.
That's a good tip, Steve. Thank you very,
Yeah,
very much.
definitely. A little
Thank
more
you.
casual in the interior of Alaska.
Exactly.
It's the number one destination in the world for duct tape because they just duct tape their clothes back together.
And no evening chic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have another poll question that I want to open up real quick. I'm pretty sure you guys are seeing that pop in your screen right now. How excited do you feel about visiting Alaska right now after we spoke about it so much and so in depth here with Brendan? All right, I'm getting some nines. I'm getting 80% of you guys with the 10, and I'm getting a 6 over there. Somebody is not too much into wilderness, I guess, but that's okay. That's fine. We can send you off to the Mediterranean if you want. We can do that too. But let me share these results with you guys real quick because I have another poll that I want to shoot out real quick. So by the way, thank you very much. For those that are interested in booking an Alaska cruise or Alaska cruise tour, please, you can reply back to the invitation that you received for today's event. You can just send us an email at carlos@luxurycruiseconnections.com. You can go on our website, look at an itinerary that you like, and submit a request to be contacted. You can find us on Instagram, send us a message. You can find us on Facebook and send us a message. You can even go on YouTube and post a comment, and we'll still find it and go and contact you as soon as we can. Because we're all about service and making sure that we get to create this opportunity, these trips for you guys. Did I share the results? Yes, I did, right? Let me stop sharing. And I have one more little question that I want to ask. Hopefully I still have everybody's attention. But have you done business with Luxury Cruise Connections before? So this is important to us because we obviously, for those that have, want to thank you for the loyalty and the opportunity to, allowing us to plan your trips. We do believe that leisure time is the most valuable asset we all have because it's that one thing that you can't get more of. So we appreciate your loyalty in giving us that opportunity. And for those that haven't done business with Luxury Cruise Connections, I want you to know that we're here for you. We are specialists at creating at the detail when it comes to creating these trips. And we like to build relationships. We want to get to know you. We want to become an expert at you. So I see 50% of you guys, about 50% of you guys have done business with us before. Let me share these results. So 56% of you have done business with us before, and 44% of you have not. I see a couple of comments here in the chat. I booked 4 cruises with Roger Powell. He's the best. Tim, thank you very much. We love Roger. I don't get to see his face much because he works from home, but he is actually one of our most tenured advisors. He's been with us for almost 12 years now. I think his 12-year anniversary was just last week, if I'm right. If not this week, I can't remember anymore. But and Andre, thank you very much for participating. Sammy seems to be your guy, and happy he got you a good deal in the Beyond as a solo cruiser. Happy to hear that you guys that have done business with us, I appreciate it. Like I said, we're here for you. We're always going to be here for you to bend over backwards to make these trips a little bit better as much as we can. And on the other hand, for those that haven't, then we welcome the opportunity. Absolutely do. Just, we'll set you up with one of our advisors that will take really good care of you. I promise you. I promise you that much. And I'm always available as well. I'm here. I like to be present, and I like to be available to any one of our clients as well to say hi and to shoot ideas of trips and where to go and whenever possible. So I don't want to take too much more of your time. I really, really appreciate you, Rebecca and Brendan. Thank you so much for the opportunity, for your time, for your knowledge, for your insights. Rebecca, for everything that you do to help us make our clients' trips better and to, go to bat for us whenever we need to. We appreciate that very much. And for all of our guests of today's event, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for Sailing
Thank
Celebrity.
you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Carlos.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Contact us at luxurycruiseconnections.com.